Hi there, my name is James Spiro and this is Tech Tel Aviv. I'm joined now with Yonatan Sela, partner at SquarePeg. Yonatan, hi.
Hey James, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Of course.
I'd like to start by asking what it is that SquarePeg does and where you see yourselves investing nowadays.
Yeah, so we're a global VC firm investing out of a $550 million fund, quite a large presence in Australia, Asia, Israel, and operating globally. We invest in early stage companies around the seed, the A stages is normally when we come into companies, but then we continue to invest with them for years and years. Prominent investments are Canva, Stripe, Fiverr, these type of companies, Airwallex and others. And Israel is a huge part of what we do. It's about a third of the business. So we have a team of 5 people here in Israel, and we have similar teams in Australia and in Asia.
Okay, wow, fantastic. Thank you. So we've just started 2024. We are 3 months into a war and we're in an election year in the UK and US. What do you see in the tech side of things? How is this year going to impact tech, or what are the trends that you're seeing?
Yeah, you're asking specifically in Israel or globally?
I suppose both, yeah. Israel and then globally.
Yeah, obviously a difficult time in Israel, but I think part of what we're doing here today is, our job out here in Tel Aviv, as opposed to the people out on the front lines, is to help keep the economy going and help keep life going and people's jobs and the growth of the economy happening, to also support the war effort and also just to get life back on track. And I think that's going to be an effort in Israel. Specifically, tech in Israel is not necessarily selling into the Israeli market, but rather selling mostly outside of Israel, the US, Europe, and other markets. And that's why I think tech has a huge role in helping boost the economy forward. Specifically, there's a lot of trends happening in the global economy, in addition to the conflict in the Middle East, which now extends beyond Israel. And I think there's a couple of interesting things that we're seeing. And one, for example, interesting point is, you see a slowdown in spending on SaaS products globally, which is, of course, not a good thing for Israeli tech companies, most of which are B2B companies, many selling into the enterprise, and other B2B SaaS tools. I think one interesting trend that we're seeing, for example, is more businesses starting to sell to governments, something which back in the day was less popular among investors and entrepreneurs. And today I think people are starting to realize has a lot of advantages even in this environment. So that's, for example, one very interesting trend that we haven't seen so much in recent years.
Which government specifically? Which regions? Is that
globally? Actually, there's different types. So we have a couple of portfolio companies like Tomorrow.io and Exotigo and others that are selling both in the US, either directly to the government or to large enterprises that are contracted by the government, like the National Grid Electric Company.
Is that statewide or
so some of them are statewide, some of them are nationwide, but there's a lot of advantages for working with these, whether it's directly with the government or with other contractors that are heavily regulated by the governments and selling mostly to the government. We're seeing the ability to sell to these bodies, even at this time of crisis. They're much less influenced by for example, cutting spending on SaaS tools that we see with the enterprise. And also you've seen emerging economies and developing countries that traditionally weren't able to create a space program like the US has, or weren't able to create the weather forecasting capabilities like the US has. But now when more things are moving to the private market, with the most prominent example is probably SpaceX, enabling a country like Kenya or other countries to essentially get to space by renting a seat on a SpaceX spaceship, to simplify things. And similarly, we see that with Tomorrow.io, a company of ours that puts satellites in space and provides weather forecasting data globally to governments in developing countries that previously weren't able to do that. So we see that in Latin America, Africa, Southeast Asia, and also in the US.
Wow. It sounds like a lot's going on. It sounds like there's a lot of change, and it sounds like the results are going to take us out of this world, literally as well as figuratively.
Yeah, we're seeing people trying super ambitious things, whether it's seeing what's underground in the case of Exotigo, seeing what you can say about the Earth as a whole, or every corner of the Earth from outer space for a company like Tomorrow. So these are some ambitious moves that often require working with governments, and that's part of what we think is an interesting trend we're seeing.
That's super interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. We're out of time, but I can't wait to meet with you at Tech Tel Aviv 2025, and we'll see who made it to space.
I'd love that. I think we have a huge role as an industry to help bring the whole economy there in a very good shape, and I believe we can do it.
Amazing. Yonatan, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, James.